I'm a long-time disability rights troublemaker and general dyke about town. This workshop's it's going to be about public speaking. By the end of this session, I hope that you'll all feel a bit more confident about public speaking, and I might manage to get one of you to do something. You never know. Okay, so here we go. Take a deep breath. Blah, 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 blah. Blah blah blah, oh blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Which of those did you find more interesting?
I am the second.
There, the second one, yeah? Okay. You see, the thing is, quite often it's not what we say that really matters. What really matters, actually, is how we make people feel. I'm just plugging myself into my ear here, and I'm sorry, the tape recorder's going to get a few clicks on it. My computer isn't on. Bad computer. Come on. Right, here we go. So I love Maya Angelou. She was an amazing woman. She's a consummate speaker, a writer, singer, actor, activist rather. Okay. It was her passion and conviction, her living her truth, that made her such a powerful speaker. So I was very pleased when I read this about her. She said, "I've learned that people will forget what you've said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." This is such an important quote to begin this workshop with, because at the end of the day, if we're talking about stuff with people, we're making a presentation, we want to change minds and hearts. We want to inform and entertain in some ways, yeah? So it's how we make people feel that is really important. So Eleanor asked me to do something about public speaking, given that I can talk for England, as the saying goes. So by the end of this workshop, I hope that you're going to feel that you can, and that you might even be able to make a speech lasting 1 minute. That's about 100 words, by the way. But we might not have time for this, actually, so you never know. It might even be a collective speech we do together. Anyway, so it's 8:30 a.m. this morning. I'm panicking. I'm sitting on my green chair, settling down to my morning meditation. Okay, meditation and panic doesn't exactly fit. It's a struggle. I'm meditating as part of my strategy to deal with chronic pain, but that's another story. Right now, as I apply my mantra doggedly, I'm in a panic. Oh, I wish I'd prepped for the day a little bit earlier. If truth be told, there were opportunities during the week. And indeed, during the weeks before, I even pretended I was doing it once or twice while I was lying under an olive tree somewhere. Oh, but who is so sage as to prep that far in advance? Certainly not me. So, is it blind panic? Excuse the pun. That brings me to the peak of performance, presentation-wise. Someone said it earlier. I get into a panic and I perform better. Do I best perform driven by panic and lack of preparedness? I try on this affectation for size. That's all very well, but it's hardly organised, is it? Does it bring my very best to the situation? Or am I running my well-flexed inner critic here? I mean, at the end of the day, it's how you make people feel, not how much blood, sweat and tears done in getting there. And obviously I'd like to take the shorter route, but I have a sort of work ethic and I always think I ought to suffer for all this stuff. Very interesting, actually, as an aside. I did hear that a number of Prime Ministers didn't go to the loo before they went to Prime Minister's question time. They said that the adrenaline and the bladder pressure helped with focus. Me, it would help me pee. But It's interesting actually that sometimes when you're doing presentations, you get yourself into a bit of a 2 and 8 in order to be better. Now, I would like personally to explode that myth, actually, because I don't see why we should suffer to do our presentations, and I think that is the suffering model. I don't like suffering models. So, enough all this, down to business. Okay. Who am I? Well, I'm a Labour politician. Ooh. Lost my line, sorry. I'm a local councillor, elected in 2014 for Haringey Council, and I'm the chair of the scrutiny committee for children and young people in Haringey. Joy. Actually, we're much better than we used to be. I'd say that being a councillor is the hardest job in politics. We inflict a government policy on local people. Them up there in Westminster get all the power. Local councillors get all the responsibility and the blame. Okay, so I've been getting up and talking in public for more than 40 years. Being a performer really helps me. I'm a singer, amongst other things, and stand-up comic. But it's not essential to be a good performer to be able to speak well in public. I'm blind. My braille skills are crap. So at the moment I'm using a computer with a relay speech, not electronically, so if I start mispronouncing words, it's her, not me. In days gone by, I would write keywords down, try and memorise it all, and then talk about it. If I was speaking off the cuff, I'd unravel my ball of opinion until I came to the end. However hastily or slowly I did that, and however I felt at the time, very much affected how I delivered my speech. So, being a hot-headed student activist, I was very likely to stand at a lectern and go, blah, 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 which is great, but actually it was me being really angry, and some people would go, oh God, she's a bit scary, and would not listen to me. And, it's a strategy. I know it's a strategy. In some ways it was a therapy session, really. It was a one-woman therapy session in front of thousands of people, NUS conference, for example. Even better done over a microphone, because you can be really, really loud. But effective sometimes not. People say, yeah, that was great, I felt your pain, blah, blah, blah. And some people go, you poor thing, need therapy. Anyway. What is the positive purpose of making a speech? Anybody know? Just call out something? What's the purpose of making a speech? Positive purpose?
Sharing ideas.
Sharing ideas, yep. Anything else?
Raising awareness.
What?
Raising awareness.
Raising awareness, yes. What else?
Heard.
Being heard, yes.
Getting it off your chest.
Getting it off your chest, exactly, yeah. Yes, indeed, absolutely good things. It's about informing, influencing, possibly entertaining. All those things are doing that kind of thing, yeah. So what's the negative purpose of making a speech?
Inflicting ideas.
Having a rant.
Having a rant, well, that could be therapeutic. What did you say over there?
Inflicting ideas.
Inflicting ideas. What else?
Drowning out other people.
Drowning out other people. Yes. Taking up space, for example. Bigging oneself up. Look at me. Dominating the argument. Confusing other people. You've probably seen all that done, actually. Those of us watching telly or listening to the radio, hearing politicians talking about it, about Brexit. Dictators. Boris Johnson. No, don't get me started. Right. So there are lots of techniques of speaking well in public. Our sisters, just after lunch, did a little bit of a talk about that and said some really, really useful things about what they learned in women's self-development around presentation and speeches. All good stuff. I mean, most people start with writing down words. Title, what is it about? What am I here for? Then where are we going? What's at the end of this? The middle bit, the stages from getting from the beginning to the end. The example, the argument, the example, all those kinds of things. Some people just had examples. Some people had arguments. Some people have facts, and that was all rather boring. Mixing up is probably the best way to do it. So those become the main things. But And some advise fully scripting it, and some advise just the keywords business. And some people say just go with the flow. It's all good stuff. They're all great ways to make speeches. And it will deliver something quite nicely shaped. It does offer the potential to entertain or to bore, depending on how you do it. But here's another way. So after deciding upon a topic, what do you start with? The question I would say you might ask is, how do you want your audience to feel? When you're about to present something, how do you want your audience to feel? Can anybody tell me? What do you want? Interested. You want your audience to feel interested. What else do you want? Inspired, yes. What else? Interested, inspired, what else?
Reflective.
Reflective, what was that over there and that over there?
To go and do something.
To go do something. Yeah, and you over there? Involved. Yes, all those kinds of things. So all those things, carry those in your head. Really important. All those kinds of things. If in a speech you want people to feel like those sort of things, okay, good, excellent. You might think, what kinds of words and phrases might make people feel those things? Yeah, what kinds of things might make people feel that? Someone gave an example earlier, I think, actually.
Asking questions.
Asking questions, very good. Yes. What else?
Subject they're interested in.
Do that one again.
Subject they're interested in.
The subject, yeah, make sure you're with the subject, yeah. Also things like, for example, give examples, give live experiences, talk about yours. That's always interesting. The sisters just before Pauline were talking a little bit about that as well. You know, it's about how you put your personal in with your facts. And for us as women, we quite often, with the whole personal is political, and us as disabled women and allies, we will often find that a great tool to begin with, to get those things to interest others and everything else, is to mix personal and political, is to use facts, that's our personal stuff, and truths as well, or truths, the other facts the other way around, sorry. But yeah, to use those things, that's really kind of quite important that you have that. So you've got that in mind at your beginning, okay? It's a kind of different way. We're not writing the speech yet. What state do you need to be in to make this great presentation? What do you need? Anybody thinking about it? Calm. Calm's useful, yes. Calm. What else do you need? Anybody else? Focus. Good. What else do you need? Say that again.
To be prepared.
To be prepared, absolutely, because
You need to know your audience as well.
know your audience. So feel confident about your audience. Yes. So we've got calm, be prepared, confident, all those kinds of things. Yeah. Okay. Now, if I'm working one-to-one with people around this, or working with groups as I am here with you today, I would now say, if you think the important thing about making a speech you might have to make is to feel really calm, I would ask you, think of a time when you felt really calm. It's all of you, think of a time when you felt really calm. You might find it, I don't know, in the bath. You might find it when you're drunk. You might find it when you're just having a conversation with someone you respect. You might, whatever. Think of a time. Everybody got a time? Secretly in your head? Anybody not got a time when they felt calm? Anyone never felt calm in their life and can't remember? You've got something. Now think about it. So you think about the situation. You think to yourself, okay, where was I? What was around me? What do I see, if you can? What do I hear, if you can? What do I taste, touch and smell? So you bring yourself back to that situation. So I'm really quite calm when I'm lying in my bath. My bath is a place of haven for me. So here I am lying in my bath. It's lovely hot water. It's quite deep. I can feel it against my skin warming me. It's soft and oily because I like that sort of thing, and that's all smoothing me in. It smells lovely, bit of lavender and the steam. And I can hear the gentle lapping of the water. And I can't taste anything unless I'm sitting there drinking whiskey, which is possible, actually. So, and I'm immediately feeling really quite nice. Oh, I'm feeling all bathed up. Very nice, as in B-A-T-H-U-D, up. Sorry, anybody else who thinks the American version's there. Yes, so I'm feeling quite calm. So there you are. In order to deliver a speech, I need to be quite calm. That's say one thing. So we've got that. So the two things we've got before we even think of a single word is how do we want other people to feel and how do we want ourselves to feel. And then we do some little work around those things. We get those. Okay. Now. Okay. So for each of those things, you might want to find a word that illustrates that thing, like in the bath or on the bus or whatever it is actually, and you remember that. So you anchor that in some kind of way. So you might, if you're going to write things down in the end by making your speech, you might put somewhere, in the bath or whatever, to remind yourself to get into that state at the beginning. Okay. So when you've kind of like done that for all the qualities you've named that you wish to feel in order to make the speech, you're going to be feeling pretty good, aren't you, by then? Actually, you've powered yourself up with feeling calm and relaxed and knowledgeable. Even like things like knowledgeable, be prepared, that thing actually, I would say, think of a time when you felt prepared. Think of what that was like, what did it feel, look like, all those kinds of things. Try and make it real so you can feel it again, and then you kind of like remind yourself of it before you go on to start your speech. You get yourself into that state. It's a very powerful thing that to prepare people before they actually begin to speech, to be able to do that is really important. And those of you who've experienced lots of panic attacks and stuff, and who've actually done a bit of work on it, will recognise some of these things, especially those who've done CBT and things like that, although that's some of the things that we will use. So, what is this speech about? Okay. What the world would be like if ruled by me. That's what the speech is going to be about. And where do I want to end up with this speech? A convincing, rallying call to support my bid to, dominate the world. If ruled by me, what would the world be like? What might be the essential ingredients? The skills, the vision, the consequence. What might they be? So I might think of I want people to be equal. I want people to have rights. I want no one to be poor. All those kinds of things, for example. So I'm now ready to write the speech because I made a little list of the key qualities I want, the key things I want rather, that is the ingredients that is, and I've got the how I want the audience to feel, and I've got the how I want to feel. Then I can begin, and then I put on that lovely template of think of a good beginning, think of where you're going to at the end, and then the little bits, the proof, the example, the proof, the example, the extra decoration, the celebration, all that in there too. Okay. So that's where we would be. Okay, now, I did a little piece of work earlier, and I am going to now give you this little speechette in two versions. Okay, here's the first version. If I ruled the world, all our differences would be understood, motivated by respect for everyone. We would live in peace and harmony. If I ruled the world, we would share alike all that we have. Oops. Poverty is gone and capitalism smashed. We would honour women's lives and end patriarchy. If I ruled the world, all disabling barriers would be gone. Discrimination and abuse would be outlawed. There'd be no glass ceiling anymore. If I ruled the world, if we did all this, our lives would be so great. We would claim our power, dignity and rights, and the world will be so glad that we're in charge and we will rise. Volume 1, that's version 1. Okay, interesting. Now, that was a bit over a minute. This might happen if I did it differently. And I'm going to sing it to you. I've pinched a song from somebody else, which actually called If I Ruled the World. And it's interesting as if you sing, it's quite interesting, because when you make a presentation, you don't actually have to speak it necessarily. You can sing it, you can dance it, you can draw pictures. There's different ways of doing it. So this is what it would be like if I sang it, and excuse slight hesitation because I literally wrote it this morning, so I haven't learned it properly. If I ruled the world, all our differences would be understood, motivated by respect for everyone. We would live in peace and harmony. If I ruled the world, we we would share and share alike all of it. Poverty is gone with capitalism smashed. We honour women's lives and end patriarchy. If I ruled the world, all disabling barriers would be gone. Discrimination and abuse would be outlawed. There'd be no glass ceiling anymore. If I ruled the world, if we did all this, our lives would be so great. We would claim our power and dignity and rights, and the world would be so glad that we're in charge and we will rise. Two versions have to speak.